This is Weights and Wealth, your one-stop shop for entertaining education on building a stronger body and bank account.
We are not doctors or financial advisors and must warn you this is not medical or investing advice. It is for your entertainment.
Welcome to Weights and Wealth, episode 59, Body and Living Standards. So this is going to be an interesting episode, mostly us ranting about our private lives and what we care about in, our abodes and how you like self-image and self-maintenance and stuff like that. So it should be interesting. Don't expect too many stats or micronutrient monologues. So
I apologize.
We'll call those M&Ms. I had to throw a dad joke in there. So Ted, why don't you give us a shout out?
Our shout out for this episode is Lance from Noonan, Georgia. Lance enjoyed the podcast and texted me that he shared it with his dad and some of his friends. So Lance, we appreciate you. Thank you for sharing the podcast, and thank you to everyone who shares the podcast. We appreciate it. It means a lot to us. Nick, wealth wisdom of the week?
Our wealth wisdom of the week is to meal prep at home for work instead of getting Uber Eats, DoorDash, and whatnot.
So, Nick, I've noticed on this topic in particular, you flip-flopped about 80 times on the podcast in 59 episodes.
I do flip-flop on that one a lot. But just because of like the markups on Uber Eats, like you're not just paying the delivery fee and the tip, but they also mark food up and you end up paying a lot more for it.
Yeah.
So...
good advice. Okay. No one wants to pay those fees.
I am always going back and forth on it, though.
It'll cost you good.
Because, I mean, like there is an argument that it saves you the time. So, like, if you're, working on something and you need to save time, it could be worth it. But in general, for most people.
I mean, I would argue that, how hard is it to throw potatoes in the air fryer or in a rice cooker and leave overcook a chicken in the oven. It's not. I think you'll be fine. Yeah, but it is something.
When I used to live with Nick, I've seen him put like 8 chicken breasts in a pan and just throw in the oven to bake with no seasoning. So
that's terrifying.
Yeah. So we'll be talking about this in a bit, but I hate cooking, so I try to put in as little effort as possible.
I guess it is a personal preference thing too. But speaking of smartphones and Uber Eats and DoorDash and the mental health crisis that Nick is probably going through every time he looks at his bank account because of that, we should talk about smartphones and the impact on mental health. Jonathan Haidt came out with an article, a month or two ago, documenting the effect of smartphones, particularly social media, on young adults today. So people that like in crux, again, in summary, the earlier someone gets a smart device, that includes iPads. So you look at all these iPad babies.
Well, that's what they're nicknaming the generation, right? Like they just call them the iPad kids. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But their mental health is drastically lower.
Yeah. So Sapiens it's like a group that does studies on humans and quality of life, I guess. They did a study looking at the age that people received smartphones, as Sean was saying, and it's almost like a direct linear correlation. Like the older you get your first iPhone or smartphone or whatever, the better your mental health scores on the tests that they use are. And then also there's a sharp drop once it's like 2010, once kids really started to get iPhones, there was a sharp drop in like self-confidence and increase in depression, anxiety, self-harm. We've talked about Jonathan Haidt before. His book, The Coddling of the American Mind, does get into this a little bit, but there wasn't as much data when he and I think Greg Lukianoff wrote The Coddling of the American Mind. They didn't have as much data to go off of. Now there's a lot of data in this Sapiens article that shows just how harmful it probably is. Correlation doesn't equal causation, but connect the dots. This doesn't seem like a hard one.
Yeah. I mean, smartphones are, you can argue that they've worked wonders in, spreading freedom and information and stuff like that, but it really is almost like a Palantir from Lord of the Rings. It's like something that should only be looked at when necessary. It's
crazy how it can have such a
it's
huge
a dangerous,
effect on
it's a really
people's mental
dangerous
health.
Tool.
Yeah. When did you guys get your first smart device?
It's a good question.
I don't really so I think I got an iPad, like my family had an iPad when I was 14. I didn't do anything on it though, other than play airplane games.
When was your first iPhone?
I got my first iPhone beginning of junior year or end of sophomore year of high school. Okay. I think it was I had a flip phone for the first 3 semesters of high school at least.
I had one of those.
The one that goes up. Mine could go 2 directions though. It could go out like this and out like that. And sometimes I would even go out and then up. And that was really hairy.
I think my first iPhone was 9th or 10th grade. Is that when yours was, Nick?
Yeah, I think it was 10th grade.
I might have been the earliest.
That's why I'm so much mentally healthier than all of you.
It's true.
We also needed iPads for school though in 9th grade.
My high school did that our senior year, and I'll tell you what, it did not go well.
No,
don't listen to him. He didn't go to high school. He was homeschooled.
I went to high school. Rude.
But yeah, it's crazy how much of an effect it can have. Sean's preparing to have a baby in the house soon. Have you and Madison talked about what you guys plan on doing with devices and stuff like that?
It's really not going to be a thing. We don't even own a TV.
Yeah.
And you can get pretty much anything you would want on a TV on your laptop. So other than we might get a TV down the line when we own a home and actually feel a need for it, but we really don't feel the urge for one right now. And even if we did, my uncle and my sister have this, I think it's a really cool habit of where they put the TV in an upstairs room. So it's a movie room. And even then it's in a cabinet. So it's a primarily a board game room or cards or and I think they have a little bar in there and stuff. You make it into a social room where you go and you would play Risk or Catan or Monopoly or Spades or any type of game you like that's actually human interaction. And then it has to be a conscious decision for you to go open up the closet, take out the TV and plug it in, and then watch whatever you want on it. That's fine, but it's a thing that they take out and put away, which I think is kind of a cool way of it's not like they're anti-TV or hate TVs, but it's not just something where you're oh, I'm tired, so I'm gonna go flip on the TV, see what's on. It's more of it's kind of a process so it makes it more of a treat to watch TV, but it's also it makes it enough work that you would rather kind of just read a book than watch a movie.
It's just something simple like that can be enough of a deterrent. It's crazy how lazy people are that the smallest change can be a deterrent. When I deleted Instagram off my phone in August or September, I could still go on Instagram by going to Safari, typing in Instagram. But what it changed for me was if I was just sitting somewhere waiting for something, in line or something, I wouldn't just one thumb tap away open Instagram. And it's I have to consciously go, and just that little change, on Instagram so much less. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's having to consciously think about it because you don't really have to think to open up Instagram.
Yeah, your thumbs automatically
it just does
there.
it. And I know that the same thing kind of happened when the social media went to endless scrolling, so there wasn't really an end. There used to be an end. You used to hit the end.
Back in the old times.
But now TikTok, Instagram, you can just keep going forever and you don't think about it. Yeah, exactly. Because you don't hit the end and have to consciously think to go type in something else and then go look at it.
I remember when Instagram, you would go through your feed because you were just following your friends. There weren't all these different accounts. It was just your friends, and if you had seen all the prior posts, it was done. Like you could go back up to the top and refresh and wait for someone or something.
Yeah.
But like, there was an end to it. That's crazy. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a kind of a scary thing to think about, like how much time you can waste. And I think we've talked about budgeting time before. And like, you do that for work, but like I did it in college when I was like really overloaded with, because I worked in college. I had a part-time job, and then I had, ROTC, and then I had school, and then all these other things. So I had to be super efficient with my time. And I was also like running a couple clubs. And so I would write down every half an hour what I did. And just something like that can help you, avoid spending that time. And then like what you do with the monochrome on the smartphone, like if you can't get rid of your smartphone, like at least turn off the color.
Like black and white. I changed all the apps.
It's like the colorblind setting or something, right?
Oh, no. I like made a little icon for each app and made a shortcut so that cover for that app goes to the actual app, and then all the apps are hidden, which is probably more work than
that's like so much work.
But I don't update my iPhone, so I don't have the black and white setting. Maybe,
I don't update mine either.
Yeah, it's all like white with like black text on my smartphone when you open it up. So it's boring.
It's a lot less stimulating.
Very boring. Yeah. But I mean, like speaking about like home life and like technology and just stuff like that. Like, how is the technological arms race going for you in the kitchen? Have you improved?
Well, we've got an air fryer, which has been a staple for me. Sophomore year of college, I think, is when I first got an air fryer and became an adult.
I've never owned one.
I think owning an air fryer should be a requirement for voting. It's like being 18. Will you have an air fryer?
So you just don't want me voting?
Yeah. He's also a ginger, so that's,
that's dope.
I think Nick's hair is darker than yours, but
probably, yeah.
As far as cooking goes, what are your biggest pet peeves in the kitchen?
Well, I'm not allowed in the kitchen most of the time, unless I'm cooking by myself. But my wife is very territorial in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like she has her way that she does things. And she kind of sees me as this like unwanted chaos, this kind of like chaotic neutral that just comes in and does, like I'll get the job done, and I will cook whatever you want, but it's just going to be a really not the way that she does it. And she does not like things that are not her way, especially when it comes to the kitchen.
Yeah.
And so like I'll come home and like I'll offer to help like cook dinner, but she'll be like, no, that's fine. And then I will try and help, and she'll be like about to stab me with the butcher knife when she sees how I'm like dicing stuff, or like how I cut potato. I don't know.
In our house, it's like a spice issue. Like whenever I cook, I'm just a little bit of this, a little bit, and then there's like spices just everywhere, like on the countertops, and like I'll clean up, but apparently not to Alex's like specifications.
Yeah, it's amazing the standards they have.
Yeah, the standards.
They want you to be able to like lick the countertops.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, definitely run that. But what do you guys do for like cooking? I mean, I guess more for you. Like you don't cook, so
but I do. I cook my
meal
lunches.
Prep.
Yeah.
So
I do meal prep.
How do you do meal prepping? Like with a partner, I guess.
Madison doesn't like meal prep. She will eat breakfast, and then she'll eat like dinner leftovers, or like a yogurt and granola and berries or something light like that for lunch. She's one of those girls that like really doesn't eat a ton of like. She's not really a meal prepper. Like she's not gonna necessarily like make herself ground beef for lunch. Like lunch is an afterthought for her. She'll eat breakfast, have a good breakfast, like a normal breakfast. Then lunch is always kind of like a snack, it seems like. And I try and encourage her to eat more, but you know how they are.
Nick and I used to live together, and I think the only time I've ever actually like yelled at you, Nick, was like sophomore year.
Oh yes.
Could not handle how Nick would like leave pots and pans in the sink to like soak, and then
it's part of being a big family, It's like,
well, it's coming from a big family. Like like you don't really get the finger pointed at you for leaving something in the sink because nobody knows
you
who
get
it
away
is.
with it.
Diffusion of responsibility.
Yeah.
That's not my pot. Everybody had extra breakfast.
Yeah, because Nick and I have lived together a couple different places, and he definitely adapted to my like perfectionist qualities about the kitchen and
the kitchen
cleaning
Nazi.
things as they're used, not having the sink dirty. But yeah, that's the only time I ever got mad at you. But
Yeah.
I feel like the kitchen's a big source of conflict in relationships with roommates or like relationships with like a spouse. But yeah,
They can be. But I mean, I've certainly developed better habits as I've lived independently. You know, like I lived off campus my senior year, had to cook for myself, and then I lived back in South Bend when I was doing recruiting there, and then in Georgia, and then in El Paso, two different locations in El Paso, and then I got married, and now my wife just completely taken it over. It's kind of a monopoly. I mean, she's a far better cook than I am, like, but I'm one of those people where like I can eat the same thing every day and enjoy it, and like very simple. I don't need anything, but she like has all these great recipes that are actually like doing the same thing, but it's kind of
Nick, you said you hate cooking. Do you use recipes at all, or are you just
Kind of throw stuff together.
same? Yeah.
Kind of like what who do we just have on our pod?
Yeah.
Dylan. What he was saying about just kind of putting everything that you like want to get in your diet into one bowl. That's kind of how I do it.
that is kind of how I cook too, but like I try and make it taste
I mean, that's like our ground beef, sweet potato, avocado bowl. Like, it tastes really good, but you're just throwing everything in a bowl.
Yeah. Yeah. Like to work, I've been eating like ground beef, refried beans, and vegetables. And like, that's just what I bring to work.
You know, it's like super simple. People might think it's gross, but I like it. Is either shredded or like diced chicken. So you just dice up a bunch of chicken breasts, season it however you want. And then literally just take like 2 cups of Bush's baked beans and throw it in there. And that's it. Because you got your carbs, you got your fiber, you got protein from the beans. It's tasty as hell.
Protein from the chicken.
Protein from the chicken, like, and it goes down super easy. So that's like one of my favorite bulking meals is just baked beans and chicken. It's sick. Very good.
Should we move on to, I guess we've been covering body and living standards, but I guess more body. When you guys are like bulking and cutting, do you have like a line that you like won't cross as far as like gaining weight during a bulk or like
That's
stuff
tough.
like that?
So that's like a topic that like I had kind of meant to bring up later, but it's like, what are you going for? You know, like in a bulk, like are you going for, 17-inch arms and like however big legs, or are you like what are your standards? Are you like bulking until you hit 315 for one on bench? Because I know that's how some people do it.
You can bulk until you hit your like performance goal.
Yeah.
Or you can like gain too much weight and then be like, okay, I'm done. I have to cut now.
Yeah. So like how, like what is the most effective way? I mean, I think you would probably know this because to be honest, I've done both. I've done a bulk where I just like, I was eating like 4,000 to 4,500 calories a day. I went from 178 to 210 and I just got strong as an ox, but I didn't really look as good as I could. But I didn't really cut after that because I didn't really know how to cut. I never cut. Because my metabolism has always like been so high that like.
Well, your activity has always been so high.
And
with ROTC or Army, you're running and lifting, and like you've never had a time where you weren't.
Like I've generally like probably for the past like 8 years of my life, I've been working out 8 to 9 times a week.
Yeah.
Like minimum. So it's.
When's that train gonna crash? We don't know. We'll let you know.
No. Still chugging along. But yeah, I mean it's hard. Like how do you choose that?
What do you do, Nick? Do you have like a line in the sand that you like won't cross as far as?
You mean in terms of like weight?
Yeah.
Or
Gaining weight or fat or something during a bulk.
not? I mean, don't ask me. Like I'm not good at bulking. I just because if I'm lifting a lot and eating whole foods, the weight's just gonna come off and just kind of stay off.
That's 100% true.
I mean, even when I was peaking strength wise, I think I was like 8% body fat or something like that.
Yeah, this summer you were like your strongest ever, and you were absolutely shredded.
Yeah. So it's usually when I'm not lifting as much, that's when I accidentally bulk. So it's always been an accident. Yeah.
Well, I feel like with you, it's very like 100% on, dialed in with diet and lifting at the same time. Or like something happens, you fall off both of them for like a little bit.
That's how I've always been about everything. Yeah. So either 100% or 0%.
I don't know. I mean, like really thinking about it, like I'd probably say being above 20% body fat is like.
Some people don't have a limit though, because like some people will just keep on gaining weight, and then at a certain. I mean, it's usually people that aren't as like.
I mean, you see the powerlifters in some of the powerlifters in the gym that are just.
Is that a bulk gone wrong, or is that a power lifter?
I don't know. I feel like it's good to have like a line in the sand. Like once you know that you're like gaining too much weight, like we gotta turn this thing around. But
like I'm hoping to hit like 220 and then cut.
Yeah.
So
what are you at right now? How are you not 220?
Like 205, max 205.
205 right now.
Yeah, just skinny.
I'm just taller. Is that
stretched out like Gumby?
I'm stretched out.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm stretched out.
Yeah, no, it's like I look like I weigh a lot more than I do. I think it's primarily because of my, as my mother likes to say, my cabbage ass, and I have a wider back, so everything just looks bigger than it actually is. I didn't really think about that. But yeah, I mean, but the concerning thing for me is like when I do hit this goal weight, when I do hit, because I'm kind of balancing it between like, it's really like 220 body weight, but I'd also want to hit 4 and 5 in bench and squat.
Yeah, 4, 5, 600. It's
a 600 I can weight on because I think that my back is strong enough to do it at a lower weight. But I think I really will need the extra pounds to squat 500 and to bench 400. So I'm close to both. But
are you going to bench 400 or 405?
405.
Okay. I was just kind of
I'm not gonna get to the 8 plates and be like, oh, let's do a little bit there. Like that's a cop out. Like,
for living standards, we had a tornado in Clarksville, and Alex and I were helping clean up through the church people that needed help that got basically their homes destroyed completely, moving them into new apartments. And when we were helping out, we were helping a family that clearly had like a hoarding kind of issue. What do you guys think about like living standards in the house you live in? How messy will you let something get before you're like, all right, I have to clean this up?
Me or my family?
I guess just you. Yeah.
Just me. I mean, like I'm pretty relaxed. Like I'm not.
That's a good way to put it.
That's a good way to put it.
Like
it's a nice euphemism right there.
I do my dishes and like I feel better.
I'm not messy. I'm just relaxed.
I feel better when it's clean.
Yeah.
So I like it clean, but it's not something that I'm gonna like come home from a long day at work and be like, oh, time to clean the kitchen. Like I'll be like, okay, that can wait another day. So generally, like I probably like pretty thoroughly clean things when I lived on my own, like once a week, but I always did like my dishes right away. Unless it was like somehow a crap ton, like I'd been away for like 3 days and hadn't had time to do this dish.
Yeah.
As far as laundry, I hate laundry.
Laundry is a tough one. Yeah, laundry's
like I'll do it, but you will never get me to fold it. I just shove it.
Yeah, I
don't. This doesn't happen as often now, but you guys can see my dryer's full right now.
Yeah, it's gonna sit there for another day.
Yeah,
because that's what I do.
But yeah, I'm pretty chill, pretty relaxed.
Pretty relaxed.
Yeah,
just chilling.
I don't know. When something's clean though, like when your house where your place you live is clean, at least for me, it makes me more disciplined everywhere else.
Okay, Jordan
It's
Peterson.
like when I've never made my bed in my life.
The people who make their beds are
like
weird.
making my bed, yeah.
People who make their beds are weird. I don't care what that Navy admiral said, and I don't care what Jordan Peterson said. If you make your bed in the morning as a dude, you're weird.
This is a battle I lost when I got married. Is the bed being made every day? Like Alex likes to make the bed every day
because they get up after you.
I think it's more comfy when it's not
yes,
made.
It's
like
so much more
I
comfy.
think that could be a
broken
proven
in.
fact. Yeah,
it's broken in.
When it's all like crisp and made, it's just like stiff and cold when you get in, and it just doesn't feel as good.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I like getting in a made bed. I never make my bed, but I do like getting in one.
Goes to a hotel and like, oh, what a
It
treat.
just goes to an Airbnb every night.
That's fair. I mean, but talking about the bulking and stuff, this is something that you probably have to look forward to in the coming years, and me and Ted already have to deal with, but squaring your macros with your marriage. Like, how have you gone about pursuing exactly how to
so
achieve those things? Because if she likes to take the lead in the kitchen or decide the menu for the week.
I don't track my macros that often. Every once in a while, if I'm getting really strict on a bulk or a cut and I'm not seeing progress right away, one of the first things I'll do is start counting my macros again. So if I started a cut, I'm 2 weeks in and the scale isn't really moving, it's like, okay, I got to count my macros because something's not going right. And then it will change. Same thing with a bulk. If I'm not really gaining weight at all on a bulk, I'll start counting to make sure I'm getting over the 3,500 or whatever it is that it's going to take. So since I've been married, I've only counted macros twice for a 2-week period. And our meals are very, very simple usually because just the way we eat with Whole Foods. Once or twice a week, we'll make a fancy meal. Alex likes to have a recipe and stuff. But a lot of times it's okay, here's our meat, here's our rice or our potatoes. Very easy to track. Mm-hmm. We use ButcherBox typically, so we know. All right, I've got a 10-ounce ribeye here. I know the macros on this. There's no guesswork there. Mm-hmm. Oh, we made a meal and it was 3 pounds of ground beef. So I had 1 pound, and then I'm going to have another pound tomorrow, and then for lunch, and then Alex has hers for dinner, and then for meal prep. Just kind of cut the pan into quarters or thirds or whatever, and you're nearly there. It's close enough estimate. So hasn't been that hard, but if you're cooking more complex meals, it definitely gets more difficult. But even with that, there were a couple times where as we're making the meal, just track it in a phone, and then however many. It gets tough when you're making a lot of extra because if we think this is being split into 8 servings, so we divide, but then I'm eating 2 servings and Alex is eating 1. It does get kind of tricky, but you can still estimate, and as long as all your meals aren't like that, then I think you can still do a fairly good job.
I know that makes sense because I'm just thinking about it. I like to be super exact.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm trying to lose.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. It's a bridge to cross when we get there. But
yeah, I mean, I feel like you just got to help out with the cooking more. If that's what if you want it to be separate and exact, then it just takes more work. But it's just a matter of prioritizing, right? If you want to be exact with your macros, you're gonna have to be cooking food specifically for you, and then Madison's got to make her serving separate.
Yeah. So. That's kind of what I do already. Is I make sure that with my meals that I eat throughout the day, that I'm within 50 to 30 grams of protein that I need. Mm-hmm. So I'll be at 190 by the time I get home for dinner.
Yeah.
So it's a process, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
I think these two things tie together pretty evenly though. The living standards, if you let your place get really messy, or if you're not concerned about getting to a certain point with weight, I feel like those things often go hand in hand. It's just I guess, I'm not sure, discipline or other things, but I feel like they're kind of one and the same a lot of times.
That's a full system. It's everything you do affects everything you do.
Yeah.
It's kind of eating that won't like change how I'm going to do this. Well, yeah, it does, because you just put, 500 calories of this complex like biochemical weapon into your system, and you don't think it's going to affect how you feel or think.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, everything you do affects.
That's true. How you eat is going to affect your mood, your stress, your anxiety. So, that's a good point.
Yeah, being strict about one thing will generally lead to you having either better results or being able to gain control over something. So, I mean, I might have to retract the making your bed statement that I made earlier. I still think it's weird, but maybe getting that slight amount of control for some people who like are completely just like whirling around like they're sitting on top of a Black Hawk. Maybe you need that. But I think if you're generally disciplined in most areas of your life, you can not make your bed.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Our raffle winner for the month of January is Trey from Chicago, Illinois. So, Trey, we will send you your Starbucks gift card, coffee on us, and for the rest of the audience, the way you get entered into the raffle is if you share our podcast and let us know, even if it's just through word of mouth, you can DM us and say, hey, I shared the podcast with my buddy Sean. He listened to an episode. We'll give you a raffle entry.
If you share it with me, I will split the profits with you.
You won't be able to buy some coffee. And then also, if you're like doing something like putting it on your story, we've had people share the podcast on their Instagram story before. We give more raffle entries for something like that. So it's just our way of saying thank you to our audience for sharing the podcast. Nick, we've got the book club. Weights and Wealth Book Club is back, January 2024.
So we have the little book of common sense investing. Talks a lot about index funds, which we covered on a recent episode.
You already know all about it.
Asset allocation, and a lot of great quotes from Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger.
Yeah, really great book. If you are not sure of how to start investing, it breaks down why index funds are going to be better than mutual funds because of the expense ratio. Right, Nick? Is that the right word?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, there we go. And then it also gets into how a lot of mutual funds, or all mutual funds really, over time aren't going to keep up with just the market like an index fund will, because when someone does really well with a mutual fund and they're beating the stock market, that's when people put their money in, and then eventually they lose because no one can beat the market forever. And then when they do lose is after people have been putting money in and they take their money out, and it's kind of a losing game, just like trying to time the market. So it's a really good book for the basics of index funds and investing, and how to start off your portfolio with stocks and bonds and ETFs. So the Weights Book Club is Concussion Rescue by Dr. Kabrin Chapek. And if you've had concussions in the past, like Sean and I have had, this is a very good book. It goes through like protocols on what to do if you get a concussion, or even if you've had post-concussion syndrome or TBI symptoms. What's going on over there? This thing, it's just falling. The crane is falling. Nick's microphone is falling. But it goes through and gives like specific treatments for right after a concussion, down to supplementation and what to do, micronutrients, different modalities and processes that have been shown to work to reduce the symptoms of concussion, help your brain start to heal faster. So great book. Highly recommend it for anyone that's had concussions, or even anyone that's coaching like a high school sport or something. Would be a really good resource. And then you can have that concussion first aid kit ready to go for anyone that has concussion, because at the end of the day, a lot of people in that world just aren't educated enough on concussions. A lot of the science is really new. So Concussion Rescue, Dr. Kabrin Chapek is the weights book of the month.
If you're looking for something a little less dense, I recently read...
This is not dense at all. This
Lord
is
of the World.
Very light, very light.
Well, I'll give it a read. But Lord of the World by Robert Hugh Benson is an excellent book. It's typically known as like the first ever like apocalypse book. So it's written by an Anglican priest who converted to Catholicism and then became a Catholic priest. And it's this very interesting take from like 1895, like what the end of the world and like global down, like all the like scary like one world government, like 1984 type books. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the original one.
Does it include like smartphones and stuff like that?
No, it's not. They did not get that imaginative.
What about join the herd billboards?
Nope. But yeah, I mean it's a good read. So if you're not into that, then
are we gonna have a faith book each week?
We might revamp the book club. We need the audience to let us know. We can do books for each of the 5 Fs. We've typically just done the weights book and the wealth book, but we can do moving forward a weights book, a wealth book, and another book, or we could bring in one of the other 5 Fs.
Random. I think it is important as a man and as a woman to not only be well versed in like your health, science, and just like understanding of like biomechanics and like biology in general, and then also like being well versed in like money management and like how the economy works and stuff like that. So when you see, the Fed or the president or Congress doing something weird, you actually know what it means, and it's not just free money. You're going to understand the second and third order effects, and in the same way, you should be culturally, fluent, I guess, and like read something that causes your brain to like imagine and think more deeply rather than simply imbibing numbers. We're not computers, so it's important that you sometimes fertilize the more undernourished areas of your brain. Like I have a book on Native American apothecary. I've no real interest in that, no intention to like ever go into it, but I was just like, I don't know anything about this subject, so I'm gonna read it. And sometimes like I like to do that like maybe once or twice a year, just find something that I'm like, I don't even know how to pronounce that, and I'll read it, and then suddenly I'll know more about this thing than like 99% of the human population, because I'm the only guy that read that book other than the guy who wrote it. But it's kind of fun, It's like going to a bar and asking the bartender to make you his favorite drink, and you get some of this like unexpected like joyful variety in your life, and I think it's fun. So just finding a book that's out there.
Today is New Year's Eve as we record this. Since we record in chunks, I'm going to make you my special drink tonight, Sean.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
That's the mule, isn't it?
Hey, just remember.
Oh, no, it's going to be something he's not
expecting. It's something different. Okay.
Just remember, alcohol is the 5th macronutrient. So it's digested before everything else.
It is digested before everything else.
So,
but not in a good way.
Yeah. So like, just know that like, if you drink after lifting, it's going to hurt your gains a bit. But
the reason alcohol
beer is a great bulking technique
is because it's a poison. So
yes, but we like poison.
Yeah. All right. We will see you guys next week. Let us know about the book club, what you want us to do moving forward.
Yes. All right. Happy New Year.
Thanks for joining us today at Weights and Wealth, and don't forget to apply today's lessons to live healthy and wealthy.
If this conversation will contribute to your fitness and financial gains, please share it with a friend or family member and give a 5-star review so more people can lift bigger weights and get bigger bank accounts.